Anika Pyle. So did you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself? A little brief bio or something?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Anika. I am a songwriter. Whoops. Dog parent. And yeah, I don't know. I usually say like I'm a musician, poet, and like multidisciplinary artist is what someone recently said, and I liked that. And yeah, just person in the world trying to get by like all the rest of us.
That's true.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's always interesting to see how people like describe themselves, because like, you know, when you're talking about somebody else, I feel like it's a lot easier than if you're talking about yourself and you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess I'm this, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, I always respect people who have a strong sense of self and inner purpose and can say, you know, I'm the blah blah, I'm the CEO of blah blah blah. You know, I'm like, that's cool.
Like, well, let me direct you over to my wall of trophies.
Yeah.
Here's my Nobel Peace Prize. Like,
Yeah. I wish.
so accomplished. But yeah, it was always interesting. So, like, tell us a little bit about like your childhood. Like, what were you always like a creative person, or were you always able to be creative?
Yes. I don't think people, I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't think people are like born creative or not. I think everyone has a creative soul, and some people are encouraged to explore their creative self and their creative process, and that was definitely me. I spent a lot of time alone as a kid writing poetry in my room. And yeah, I feel like I was probably I did get a trophy for best writer in third grade, so there you go. The Dr. Seuss Award. Yeah, so I've always been a writer. I've always been writing songs. It took me like years and years to learn an instrument to accompany myself, but I've been writing songs and poetry since I was probably like 5 years old.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of acting. I don't do much acting anymore, but that was my big medium as a kid too.
Like you wanted to like be in movies, or?
I did a lot of musical theater and I was on speech team, which for some people is debate, but for me it was just like monologues. And yeah, so I like competed and acted a lot, and then moved to New York to study acting, and then decided not to do that. And I haven't really acted since, unless you count a couple of music videos. But yeah, I think I don't know. I wanted to be an actress, a singer, and a writer. That's like what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I never knew exactly what that meant. And I was encouraged to study acting because I guess a couple of people thought I was good at it. But I really didn't want to have a career that was like so based on the judgment of your body and your physical appearance. Acting is a lot, music is a lot more forgiving. Words come out sometimes. Music is a lot more forgiving in that regard, I think, because when you're an actress or an actor, you get typecast very specifically. Not that you don't also get like genre cast as musician, but it's a little less judge a book by its cover kind of a thing. So
yeah, I was, when you just said that, I was thinking like, yeah, you do get judged more on your physical appearance when you're up there on screen, and it's like, yeah, that happens in music too, but you know, it's like, oh, that's the girl next door role, or like that's the, I don't know. Yeah. Trying to think of all the different typecast like things in my head, and then you have to like prove yourself. Yeah. Like constantly like get out of that kind of hole.
Yeah.
But like your family wasn't strict in any way, like in that kind of creative sense. They just kind of like let you.
Yeah, they were both my parents were like hippie freaks. So, you know, I definitely did not have any expectations other than like do what you want and be happy were completely societally and self-imposed. My parents were very much like excited for whatever I wanted to do. My mom called me actually, I don't know if this, I can't remember who, it was either the Golden Globes or it had to have been, maybe it was the Golden Globes. I feel like maybe Oprah spoke or something a couple of years ago. Anyway, my mom called me. I was working like a part-time accounting job, and she called me. She's like, "You need to quit your accounting job. You have to go back to acting. Are you watching this?" And I was like, "Well, at least I have, at least my parents were never like, be a banker." Sometimes I wish they would have. I would be a little more set up in life, but not really. Just kidding.
You're like, but how happy would you be?
Yeah. How many more toys could I afford for you?
So cute.
Yeah, no, they were very, very chill.
That's good. Yeah, definitely. I feel like, from the get-go, like your parents really are like your first influence. Like, you have your friends and stuff like that, but like, growing up, whatever they say, it's like it really affects you, or how they like treat certain ways of life or certain hobbies, or like, no, you're gonna grow up and you're gonna be like a doctor and we're gonna set you on this path to like be that thing, and they never like take into consideration like creativity as like a profession in a way, because they're like, that's just like a hobby, or that's like, so that's really cool. Like when parents are like, discover yourself, figure out who you are, and go for it. So were you ever like had stage fright or anything like that, or you were just
yeah, I definitely think back, I mean, it's funny because now it would be so much more the opposite, but when I was spending most of my time on stage in an acting role, it was very nerve-wracking to like play shows. And I was, when I was first starting out performing, which I guess like I've done pretty much my whole life, it was a lot easier for me to act than it was to sing. And I feel like that's completely flipped now. If someone was like, do a monologue performance, I would be like terrified. But you know what? It's funny. I've had a lot more stage fright playing like Zoom shows or digital shows than I have ever playing live in front of people. I've heard this from a lot of musicians. It's kind of scary because there's a lot of stuff that's out of your control, like technical difficulties. The first time I teach yoga, and the first time I taught a yoga class on Instagram live, it cut out halfway through and I had no idea. So I had taught 20 minutes and then I kept teaching for 25 minutes and no one saw it because the thing had stopped. But so it's kind of like, yeah, it's nerve-wracking not to have that kind of like energy response. I'm so sorry.
okay.
And yeah, it's funny, but I got some advice once from a friend who was just like, this seems like such a stupid thing, but I say it all the time whenever I'm nervous. I was really nervous playing this big show once, and he was like really stoned, and he was like, you know what? Just like no anxiety, all right? No fear. There's no fear involved in this. It's just love. And now I think about it every time. I'm like, what is at stake here? Like, all I have to do is perform with love. No, I don't need any fear. And I keep thinking it simple, but it works.
It's a great mantra.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, especially if you're like all like really anxious and you're like, what am I like? Exactly.
Yeah, just why?
Okay, like you said, what's at stake? What's what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I know. What's ever at stake? It's like, I don't know, even if you're performing at the Super Bowl and you fuck up, it's like, we're all fucking up all the time. It's like, you don't want that to happen, but it's okay. It happens sometimes, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Just hold humans to human standards and not that they're non-human people that don't make mistakes.
Yes, I like that.
I don't know. I think it would be a lot puppy. I feel like it would be a lot like it would be boring if nobody made any mistakes or nobody did anything that was like, you know, less than expected of them.
Yeah, I mean, what would we have to, like, there would be no growing, and then what's the point of doing anything, you know?
Exactly.
Um,
We're growing up.
I'm taking you on a real journey here. I'm sorry.
No, like, where are we going?
We're getting a tour.
We're doing a little house tour. This is my office where I should have been all along. Oh man.
We're on Cribs.
Yeah. Welcome to my episode of MTV Cribs. Sorry, y'all. It's been a whirlwind of a morning.
Things happen, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking on technology and everything. There we go. Nice little house tour. It is pretty interesting because we've heard from a lot of bands too that they have gotten more nervous doing the streams, like staring into a computer or a phone playing is way different than playing for an audience where you can feel, you know, the energy or, you know, figure out if people are enjoying it, you know, the facial expressions, all of that, but you don't see that over these streams. So it's like, are people actually watching this, or are they, you know, just kind of have it sitting there? Like, I don't know, it's weird, but we have heard that too, that most people are having like more stage fright in a sense doing the streams.
Yeah, it's funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, you can go back and like read the comments, but it's not like the same. Like, you can feel the energy like in that room.
Yeah,
of everyone just like enjoying themselves. And then also it's always so loud and everyone's like running around or dancing, and then like if you do mess up they don't even notice because they're all in like their own
Yeah.
I'm screaming the word to you, I don't care what's going on.
Yeah, I know. And it's also like, I feel like for me it's kind of like I've had to, you know, as I've watched more live streams, I feel like it's helped me set my own expectations, you know? It's like, yeah, like I'm sitting here eating dinner and watching this live stream, which I love. It's not the same. So I need to, it helps me be able to expect, you know, I can't expect everyone to be sitting there on Zoom, like very intently watching what's happening, crying, you know, it's like, no, everybody else is doing their laundry too. Okay, this is great. You know? It's just a time of multitasking.
You have like, your phone propped up on like the washer, and you're like,
right,
yeah. Or like I've been cooking dinner and it's just like hanging on my spice rack, and that's kind of nice. I don't know. So I'm like, all right, we're doing this differently. I can like reset my expectations a little.
We're adulting, but still like
and
the music scene. Multitasking. That's what we're doing now. It works out.
Yes.
So you said you were 5 when you like really started to get into music.
I guess like I can't. You know, it's funny looking as I've been doing some interviews, thinking about, you know, like when I started to really love or fall in love with music. And like, I don't really remember a moment where I was like, music, you know, the first song I ever wrote was a song about a prince and a princess to the tune of Locomotion. Everybody doing it. It was probably like, Prince and princess on the playground. Come on, baby. Put on some lotion or something. But yeah, so I was like, I think I was just like attracted to melody. My brain maybe just early on was like, this is fun for you. And yeah, it's always just kind of been a part of it. And I've always just been like making little songs up in my head, and yeah, I always loved to sing. was always like that weird person who would sing in class. And I would be like, shut up, weird person. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting, like hearing how people like discovered music in their own way. If it was like handed like a CD handed down to them from like their family, or like they, you know, listened to the radio and were all of a sudden like really into a particular song and it like took off from there or something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I definitely think that, you know, hence my hits of 1998 playlist. Listening to pop songs on the radio was kind of like, you know, my, like I remember I had this tape that was, I think my first cassette tape, and it was a mix, but it was like, no one made it for me. It was just like this weird mix for some reason that had Paula Abdul, Blue Suede Shoes, New Kids on the Block, and maybe a Madonna song. I can't remember, but it was just this weird like mix of songs. And I remember kind of being obsessed with that cassette tape. I definitely have like a punk origin story. I feel like that's something that, you know, was like there's like one person and one CD that, you know, got me into punk. But that was much later, I think, or much later. I was 8, so much later. But my mom's partner at the time was kind of a punk. He was young. She was a bit of a cougar. And so he was probably like, I don't know, maybe in his late 20s even, or early 30s. I can't remember. But he gave me Dookie on CD. And that was like a big pivotal moment. And he also gave me a jean jacket with a corrosion of conformity back patch on it. So I was pretty much the coolest 8-year-old on the planet. But yeah, that was like, I feel like that was a perfect record for me to get because it's so melodic and so poppy, you know, it's very, very pop punk. And so it like satisfied my desire to like sing along and have melody, but it was like edgy, and it was like also sort of filled my rebel soul. So that's a moment like I won't, you know, I remember very distinctly. And then I had a stepbrother who was had become kind of like a raver and was leaving his emo past behind, and so he gave me Weezer's Blue album when I was probably 11, and that was also a pivotal music moment. Those 2 records were like big time defining records for me, I feel like.
So many people say Dookie, like it's on everybody's like, this was the punk record that like got me into everything.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy. It's a pretty like pivotal record for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
It was a big record. 1994, great year for me. Great year. Yeah.
Well, so we were really little, but I mean, yeah.
But actually, if you think about it, I was born in 1989, so I probably turned 5 in 1994. Mm-hmm. So there's probably a reason why around 5 years old, I was starting to, you know, because it was
starting kindergarten. It was,
you know, I quit ballet. I needed a little more time for myself to, you know, write some poems and listen to music. True story.
Well, you were in ballet as like a little toddler child.
Yeah, and it was like really, it was a big commitment. I loved dancing. I still love dancing. But we grew up in this little farmhouse with like no neighbors on a bunch of land, and we were technically supposed to go. We lived like on the county line, you know, but over here was the close school district, but we lived just right here. So we had to go to this really far away school district. So it took us like, we were the farthest bus out. So it was an hour and a half on the bus every day, like there and back. So it was like, I'd spend an hour and a half on the bus and then I'd go to ballet, and I was like, this sucks. And I told my mom, I was like, I need more time for myself. So I quit. My sister stayed in for a couple years, but yeah. And then I tried to get back into ballet when I was in like 8th grade. I took another class. And a boy in my class told me that I didn't have a dancer's body and I shouldn't be doing ballet. And why do I remember that? Don't ask me, but our brain likes to remember the negative stuff and not the positive stuff.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
annoying. Remember
So
that
now I know it's these defining moments, but now IDGAF, I do a little twerking in my room by myself. I don't need a ballet class. It's fine.
Like, I need time for myself.
Yeah.
Need to quit this ballet thing for like a little bit.
Yeah.
Move on.
I need to take some time off from my rigorous dancing schedule.
I feel like every child in like the 90s was assigned to like ballet, tap, jazz classes, and like that was
hard agree. I think Kanan, didn't you take that too? I think we both. Well, I did ballet too. Ballet tap.
You're a little girl,
Yeah.
go to ballet.
Yeah, I know. It's just like they funnel you in.
Just like, why am I here? What is going on?
I know, and I felt like it was expensive. Like the second time around, when I did, I was like, I don't think I can afford it. I can't afford to be a ballerina. It's got a lot of clothes you got to buy and shoes and stuff. So yeah, well, so I'm not a professional dancer, I guess.
And you're on the playground. I listen to Dookie. Have you guys heard of Green Day?
Oh yeah. Nice ballet shoes, Jessica. Have you heard this CD? No, but around the same time, I did start a band. Right after I quit ballet, I started my first band, Touch.
When you were 5?
Well, I was 8, so I guess this was a couple years after. But the band was a 5-piece girl group, and then our honorary member Catherine, who was our manager, and Touch. We were all obsessed with the Spice Girls, and Touch is what Spice Girls were called before they were called the Spice Girls. But I've been talking about this a lot, but I don't normally talk about my band full of 8-year-old girls called Touch because it's like a little bit inappropriate. But at the time, we thought it was really cool, and we would make up dance moves, and I would write our songs, and then we'd learn the lyrics, and they were all kind of like, I call them kind of like my early feminist awakening, because they were all about how, like, you know, there was one called Cover Girl, and it was about how you don't need fancy clothes or makeup to be beautiful because we're all inherently beautiful. And then there was another one called, like, not Devil Girl, but like it was kind of about how we all have a little bit of a radical side to us. And then Friends Forever was one. Friends Forever, like birds of a feather. Stuff like that.
Damn, that was funky. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine like a little 8-year-old singing about having a radical side.
Yeah, right.
I know. I was like, yeah, I was a little bit of a strange child, right? I was like probably allowed to watch a lot of movies that like other kids shouldn't be able to watch. And in 5th grade, my favorite movie was Cruel Intentions. And I used to go to youth group, and they'd be like, what's your favorite movie? And I'd be like, Cruel Intentions. And everyone would be like, this girl needs therapy. Yeah. One day I have this box full of lyrics, like some, Touch lyrics, up to other crap before I started being able to play guitar. And I kind of want to make like a secret EP of forgotten lyrics.
That'd be cool.
Very cringy. Patreon only, because it shouldn't be shared in public, I don't think.
I'm sure everyone will love it,
Yeah.
Dive.
Yeah.
Definitely. That like kind of reminds me, because I feel like my friends and I did that when we were in elementary school, because Raven and I also loved the Spice Girls and we grew up
Mhm.
you know, loving the Spice Girls. And we were actually talking to Augusta about the Spice Girls when when we had her on here. And we would like sing their songs at recess to like these little kid audience. Like, what
And
are we
make up
doing?
like the little dances and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Oh yeah. Did you ever go to see Spice Girls live in concert?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Who did you dress up as? That's the critical question.
I was Baby Spice.
Baby.
I was Sporty Spice. And
Me
I
too, Raven.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
I did have the temporary tattoo armband thing, you know.
Sick. Yeah. I saved up like, I wish I would have known this. I would have worn my Spice Girls shirt to this interview. I saved up like every single penny I possibly got, probably from, you know, birthday money, to buy one half of an Adidas tracksuit because I couldn't afford to buy the jacket. So they were blue and orange, which were the Colorado Denver Broncos colors, and a blue and orange. And then I got like this orange tank top that was too big for me that I had to like tie together with a hair tie. Did you ever use that move? You know?
Oh.
Yeah, and we went, and that was my first live show.
I have like big memories.
But,
yeah.
Yes, going to the Spice Girls themed birthday parties, dress up as your favorite Spice Girl.
We should bring that back. You want to do like a Spice Girls night where everyone on Zoom dresses up as their favorite Spice Girl?
That would be
DJ
so
Spice
amazing.
Girls?
That would be amazing.
Okay, but it'll be Spice Girls, GRRRRRLS.
Yes. We'll have Augusta on here because I think she was Scary Spice. She said
she was. Yeah, she's a big Spice Girls fan. We've passed some stickers back.
She showed us her pillow.
Oh yeah, Spice Girls pillow. Oh, it's really funny.
And it's so funny, like I don't know, you always remember the songs no matter how long it's been since you've heard them. And like, I was watching the movie recently because I found it at Amoeba and I bought it and I was like, okay, I'll rewatch it. And you remember like all of the dialogue, like how does your brain
just like comes to you? It's like second nature. Like even the songs, like we put together like a playlist of like 90s and like 2000s like pop hits, and we put them on there, and like I hadn't listened to them in a while, and I'm like listening to them, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just falling in love like all over again.
I know. It's really great. That's how I felt listening to this 1998 playlist. I was like, I don't even know who Paula Cole is. How do I know this song? Like every single word. It lives. I feel like maybe there's a study about this. I've decided, well, I haven't really decided this, but I've been playing around with the idea of becoming a neuroscientist and, you know, just lightly thinking about it, and studying, like, I'm just so fascinated about what the brain does when it consumes art. And I do feel like we all have this pocket in the brain of songs from our childhood. And I feel like that's why, you know, at what moment, there's also this music that will always be so dear to you because of the moment that you were introduced to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is there developmentally, you know, like what age does this happen for people? And, you know, it's like some of those things still hold up and then some of them don't. That's how I feel about when I listen back to The Starting Line, which was my favorite band of all time. And then sometimes I'm like, maybe this didn't hold up quite as well as some other things. But yeah, it's just fascinating because I feel like there's this reserve. It's like this thing that I call the dessert pocket, where no matter how much food you eat, there's still a tiny pocket left for dessert. It's like the pop music pocket in your brain.
Yeah.
It's there somehow.
It is. And we all just happen to know the same songs and love the same songs. Like you can go years without listening to them, and as soon as it comes on, you're like, I know this one. You're like, I know all the words.
I know. It's so crazy.
I did when I was listening to the playlist and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the song, and I hit play and then I like remembered just all the words, and I'm like, how that study seems really interesting. I would love to know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. If I find something, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because like, even that, like even not just like the Spice Girl songs, but just like other like one-off hits from other smaller bands, or like I remember when when my friends and I were doing the Spice Girl stuff, and then we got into a fight with these other girls, and they're like, "We're gonna be bewitched," and we're like, "Okay."
Oh yeah, Bewitched.
And then they were doing like "Say La Vie," and I was like, "How do I remember all the words to this song still? Like, I haven't heard this in like 20 years." But it's
Oh my God, yeah.
amazing. I was like, "Okay, go." Like that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, what else though? S Club 7.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
S
my
Club
gosh,
7.
yeah.
98 Degrees.
Yeah, obviously like Backstreet Boys.
3LW. 3LW.
Dream.
Yeah.
What a record.
Cream.
Dream.
Dream. Oh, Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, Dream. Yeah.
What other girl group? Oh my gosh. Wow. I feel like when you put it on the spot, you're like, I can't think of the names.
I know. What about Haiku? Perfect Day. In a perfect day, nothing can stand in my
That was like
way.
in every.
I've always wanted to
90s
cover that
movie,
song.
Like, oh my gosh, I can see it. Or like,
I know.
what about like? Do you remember like O Town, like making the band with like O Town?
Oh yeah.
We're all singing Liquid Dreams, and we're like, what? Like, why are we singing? This is a horrible song to be singing at like 10, 11 years old.
So I know. I mean, I even think about the Spice Girls. I always think about the song "To Become One."
Oh my gosh, I think about that.
Like I haven't loved before, wanna make love. You know, it's like we're all 8 years old. Wanna make love to your baby. I need love. They want back for more. It's like, sure. I don't know.
I think about it too with like Britney Spears, like the Baby One More Time, like making up dances and stuff. It's like we were like 6, 7 years old, and now we're like, oh man, that video. There was so much like sexual innuendos like scattered throughout that. Like we just didn't pick up on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Britney.
I just
yeah. It really is sad. I was what does this remind me of? Oh yeah. So as a kid I had this pastime where we would like make spoof videos. If I had TikTok as a child, it would have been fun. Actually, it probably would have been illegal now that I'm going to tell you what we used these videos for. But we did this one spoof that's what I call Music Kids. But it was basically like making fun of the fact that all these songs are really bad for kids to listen to. And I remember we had one scene that was, who sang the song? North Carolina, come on and raise up, take your shirt off, twist it around your hair, spin like a helicopter. Is that DMX?
Oh my God.
Anyway,
Google that.
You know this song. And so we had this.
I don't know who sings it or anything.
We'll have to put it in the notes or something, but it was this song that we did that one, and then we did Peaches and Cream, which was also very popular at the time. And if anybody saw these videos, it would definitely be it wouldn't be quite in the child pornography category, but it would be very uncomfortable to watch because it was just us making fun of all these sexy songs, which is like, now that I think about it, very profound social commentary. But at the time, I don't think any of our parents would be very happy about it. Not sure how it would be received. But yeah, it's like you're aware that the songs are like, the content is not necessarily child friendly. But it just, but the Spice Girls wrote a line because they were also, I don't know, it's tough. Looking back, I'm like, it was both very empowering, as a young girl person. Sex positive, which is, I don't think they were too sexy. Not that there's like anything that's too sexy, but you know what I mean? Like taking advantage of children sexy. But it's tough because they were like so contrived and commercialized, and they were trying to sell a thing. Have you read Mel B's memoir?
I have not.
No,
I haven't
watch
either.
all the documentaries and stuff, and I'm like, this is so interesting.
Yeah, I should read.
Get that, and definitely need to read that now.
I know. I just can't. I thought of it actually. Yeah, I'm gonna read that. Well, we should all read it. We'll report back.
Yes. Book club.
Yeah, a book club.
Nice girl book club. but definitely like as a child, like you don't realize that they were working like 24/7. They never had a day off, and like just working to the point of exhaustion. They have like eating disorders and depression and all of these things, and you're just as a small child, you're like, I like love these women and I look up to them and I want to emulate them, and you never think like, oh, there's a lot more going on underneath the surface.
Yeah. I remember I had this book, this Mel C book, because I was obsessed with Sporty Spice, and it's just like I'm like remembering all these interesting childhood things. Like in this book, it was a Q&A, and the interviewer was like, how do you stay so fit with such a busy schedule? And obviously they all have like personal trainers, but Mel C's answer for this kid's book was, I do 50 sit-ups a day. So I remember I was like, I'm going to do 50 sit-ups a day. And it's stuck it still sticks in my head. I'm like, just something that I remember. And I guess it's better than being like, I have a personal trainer. We work out 2 hours a day. So all these 8-year-olds are like, I got to get a personal trainer and work out 2 hours a day, which is like fucked up. But even like, I guess doing 50 sit-ups a day isn't bad. It's like good for you, but I don't know. It's complicated, layered. We could write.
So did you want to talk about like your solo journey, as opposed to like being in a band? Because you are coming out with a record in a couple days.
Oh yeah. It's not all about the Spice Girls. Yes, well, I'm coming out with a Spice Girls cover record in a couple days. Just kidding. Yes, my solo journey. Well, it's been, I've been in a couple of bands, and I wanted to make a solo record for a long time, but didn't necessarily, I don't know, the universe wasn't ready for it, or the timing wasn't right. And yeah, I was, I don't know, had been putting together some material for this grant funded performance at the Philadelphia Free Library, that was merging songs and poetry. And I was really excited about it. And so I started, it was probably like the hardest I've ever worked for a show, because it was just me playing. So it had to be good, because there was no opening band to be better, or, really capture people's attention. And yeah, I really wanted to do a good job. And that was kind of the impetus to start pulling together some material that I was proud of and that I wanted to work with. And then I think I was asked in September and was preparing the shows in November. My dad died in October. So it kind of radically changed my approach to the performance. And I started writing some new material in response to his passing, and pulling from some themes that were more related to the grief that I was processing, and thinking about him and where I was at the moment. And that set ended up being so important to me, not only in my own sort of mental process for loss, but because I really loved the way that each piece spoke to each other. It was a way to kind of merge these two mediums that I've been working with forever, and hadn't quite found a way to put together. And so I decided that to kind of commemorate that, I would record it. And that became Wild River. So yeah, I finished tracking it right before the world went into a global pandemic lockdown in February of last year. And wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. Strange time to like share music or think about music or put out music. So I kind of, we mixed it and we mastered it. And then I kind of sat on it for a while and wasn't sure what was going to happen with it, but finally got to a point where it seemed like it was a good time to share it. Not only personally, but, I think the world, it's record about processing loss, and we're like all processing loss of so many things. So it felt like, you know, I wrote these, and I'm actually like, you should see my desk. It's a disaster. Under you is just a pile of crap. But one thing in the pile of crap is this little note that I found while I was cleaning out a drawer that says Wild River Intentions. And they are help people relate to their loss, hold space for intergenerational trauma, vessel for reimagining failure and success. Right up in the Tri-Lakes Tribune, my hometown newspaper. That's tertiary. But yeah, that was kind of like, I felt those were the intentions and kind of why I made it and what people could get out of it. And it seemed like, not that I write for other people, but I do, you know, what is sharing your story if it can't, you know, I hope, my greatest hope in doing that is that it helps others. So I think hopefully maybe it can help some people, hold space for some people. So that's kind of been the journey.
Yeah, that's quite a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Does it feel like like with grief and everything, do you feel like it gets easier as you like talk about it, like as time goes on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's always going to be, you know, something like, there's so much literature about, like, one of the most famous things about grief is, you know, the four stages of grief, or the 5 stages of grief or whatever. And it's like denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance. And I think that those stages like are valid. Like, many people experience those things. I did experience each of those things, but I don't think you wake up one day and you're like, okay, it's easy now. I think it just kind of evolves and fluctuates. And, you know, we experience loss in so many ways. We don't just grieve people, you know, we grieve relationships, we grieve jobs, we grieve pets, we grieve ourselves. And I think that we can all kind of relate to these different points in our process. I do feel like I'm usually a very emotionally candid person and very like outwardly vulnerable. And I found that as I was grieving the loss of my dad, I kind of took this approach that was really different for me, which was kind of like to hole up and withhold a lot of my feelings. And, you know, there was a lot of like logistical stuff to take care of when he died. So I was kind of in like go mode, you know, because you can't get all this shit done and be like, it's hard to get a bunch of shit done and be a complete like mess, the mess that you want and need to be at some points. So I feel like as I've been kind of revisiting the material and getting ready to put out the record, it's been kind of a welcome opportunity to sort of reconnect with my own grief process and with my dad, my grandma, who is also passed and you know, takes a big role in the record too. And I think it'll always kind of be like that. I think there are these moments of your loss just kind of hits you, you know, it's almost like, it's like the brain pocket. We have a brain pocket for 90s pop songs, and then we have this brain pocket for like crazy sad memories, you know. I remember I was at work, I was working at a coffee shop, and I was putting away like, you know, 60 gallons of half and half or something, or like half gallons of half and half, whatever, cream. And the expiration date was my dad's birthday. And I was like doing really good. I was like, I'm like, you know, I'm like an exception to the rule. People, like, I'm like really handling this loss thing like really well. And, you know, I like turned the carton of the half and half around and read the date and just like, you know, became one with the cream. I was just like a mess, you know, and these things just hit you and you don't realize that there's like a deep well of feeling there. And yeah, it's like, I think the process is not linear. It's a lot more messy than we like to say.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of like ebbs and flows in a way. Like you're doing fine, and then all of a sudden, like you said, something reminds you of them, and then you're like a mess.
Yeah.
And then the next time you're like, oh, I'm fine now. It's just like it's such a strange thing to deal with. But when you were talking about like the non-linear thing, it made me think of Augusta again, because I feel like Safe Sins by Gladys is like a very like in the same sense, like how they talk about like non-linear grief. And I'm like,
yeah,
interesting parallel right now.
Yeah. Well, we spent a lot of time together.
I mean, I figured. But yeah, that's because I always wonder like if like talking about things, does that help people? Does that like, because I know holding things in like isn't that helpful, because like one day you're just gonna explode and you're gonna be mad and all these different feelings, as opposed to like letting little pieces out at a time, like over the course of like your lifetime, I suppose. However, because I mean it's with you for life, so you just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
On your journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, on like the same, like you said, like your writing is very like vulnerable, and you talk about grief. And what are things that make you happy?
Oh, well, my top 5 favorite things are I keep a running list of my top 5 favorite things, because in moments where I'm very sad, I need to connect with them. And they change, but the first thing on the list is always coffee, because it's my daily ritual for joy. Yeah, I love, in olden times, I worked in coffee. It was like a big, like a relational, like the center of the web, because I met so many people through doing that. And, it was a big pillar of my community. And it's always been sort of like a personal ceremony for me. Yeah, my like funny top 5 favorite things are usually coffee, flowers. Usually flowers will bring me joy if I'm looking at them. Dogs, particularly one dog now in my life. Yoga and music. Those are usually my top 5 favorite things. Sometimes things get switched in. But I do think that what makes me the most satisfying thing in life is connecting with other people and feeling a deep sense of togetherness, and being, either helping others or being in relationship with others. And yeah, there's like, I have a secret project called The Secret of Happiness, and I take a poll. And it's so different for everybody, but I do think that, knowing that people love you and that you love other people, that makes me happy.
Oh, I love that. That's a great one. I was gonna say, how do you take your coffee?
Black, baby. Black as the night. But if I'm going out to coffee, which seems like the distant past for me, there's a coffee shop in town called Grindcore, and they have silk soy creamer, which I'm obsessed with. But like, I feel like it's too much if I have it every day. So if I'm going out to get a coffee from Grindcore, I'll get some silk soy creamer in it as a treat.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, when I think of like when you said flowers, when I listen to like your music, like your solo songs, I'm like almost picturing you like in a field, like just kind of like with a guitar, just like dancing around the flowers with with your guitar. I was like,
Thanks.
I can see this.
Ah,
Like in a forest, just like sitting on a tree stump. Like playing.
I like that. Yeah, there's a lot more. I feel like maybe in Katie Ellen there was more, I guess there wasn't really any floral references. In my mind, Katie Ellen is a very like floral, um like when I like it's kind of like, I guess it's much more feminine than, Chumped, which I see as like in my mind, is like a pizza and beer band. Like in a good way, but yeah, I didn't realize how many references to nature. I mean, the record's called Wild River. It's like glaringly obvious, but for me, for some reason, I just didn't think about that. And as I've been talking to people about the record, they're like, there's so many like, nature references. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's, sort of this like subconscious, like intuitive energy of like thinking about the cycle of life and like the sort of perfectly imperfect state of nature and how it's always regenerating itself, and our energy is transferred, we die, we become something else, and that's kind of like how
Evolving in that way.
Yeah, how the planet works. So
I can also picture you like in a canoe.
like my
river.
Pocahontas. Just around the riverbed. Well, I have a new music video idea. just gotta find the canoe. If anyone's listening and you have a canoe, deliver it to South Philadelphia.
Send it that way.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's exactly. See, we have the whole imagery set up. Everything's perfect. So, it's great.
Yes. Yeah.
So as you've gotten older, like what are some things you have learned about yourself? Like,
oh, so much. Well, I have learned that happiness is hard work. It is a constant practice. I've learned that you can't make everybody like you, no matter how hard you try. That you only have the right to the work you put in and not what you get out of it. Can't control that. I've learned that it's okay to live a boring life. That all you have is the moment that's in front of you. Yeah, I feel like I could write like a tome on. Yeah, I was just talking to my sister about this last night. I feel like I don't usually give myself credit for the ways in which I've grown as a person, because it's like I'm saying this now and then I'm going to forget it in 3 hours when I'm like crying about something stupid happening. That's out of my control. But yeah, I do feel like prioritizing. I've learned that empathy is a skill and that it's my greatest strength. And I have to keep working on some of my weaknesses, like assertiveness and courage, maybe. But that, to not stop honing the empathy and compassion skill, because I truly believe that it is what makes the world a better place to live in.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. People always like, I don't know, I always get the comment of like, oh, you're empathetic, or you're too empathetic, or you're too this or something, and you're just like, am I just like not supposed to care? Like, I don't I don't quite understand like
Yeah.
what you'd like me to do. But yeah, as long as you keep doing that, I think that, be happy within yourself and not care what other people think. I feel like that's definitely like a thing that I say, like, oh, when you turn 30, you like just don't care what people think anymore. But it's actually like really nice, like not caring as much. I don't know, it's very freeing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I don't know if it's like sometimes we adhere to cultural milestones because they're so set in our brains, but I really do feel like just, yeah, like not, yeah, I do feel like kind of when I turned 30, I gave less of shit. Everyone told me that was going to happen. So maybe it was just me being like, okay, now it's okay.
And you're
Yeah, but like your brain does change in ways. I mean, I don't know what the significant neuroscience, when I become a neuroscientist, I'll let you know what the change
next year, right?
from like 23 to 30 is, but I do feel like, yeah, I feel like in some ways when I look back at my like musical past, not to be like my career retrospective really like mirrors my personal journey, but I do feel like, there's probably a reason why this record is like very weird, different than all my other records, and is a solo record. So it's like I'm a little less afraid to be myself. And yeah, I don't think that could have happened like 4 or 5 years ago. I think I'm okay being like the weird poetry girl singing in class finally. And if you don't like it, fuck you. not really. If you don't like it, there's plenty for other people to like in the world. Everything's gonna be fine. Yeah.
Like I feel that.
Yeah.
What were you listening to when you were writing this record, or were you just like kind of in tune to what you were thinking and kind of just like made it up your own?
What was I listening to? It was like so long ago. I was listening to I was listening to a lot of weird stuff. Not weird stuff, but I was listening to a lot of like 1970s like African jazz music. And I was listening to a lot of Karen Dalton. I was listening to like a lot of like old like John Coltrane, Alice Coltrane jazz stuff. Mountain Goats. Arthur Russell. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess insidiously some of these things probably made their way into the record. But yeah, I don't think I like, I think maybe that's partially why it was so keys heavy, because a lot of the stuff has like, a lot of stuff I was listening to has like interesting keyboard tones to it. But it's like, yeah, I feel like this is kind of a record whereas in the past it was like, the last thing I made, which was the Still Life EP, the Katie Ellen EP, I had like a playlist where I was like, okay, this song needs to sound like this Camera Obscura song, and this song needs to sound like this, or like I had like a reference list. And I guess, you know what, actually the reference that I gave when we were mixing the record, there's one song in particular that I feel like really tonally influenced the record, and that is Grouper's song. I think it's actually called Headache, but Grouper tonally I feel like was a big influence. Kind of weird, like experiment. I don't know if you call it experimental. That's a weird word. Everything is experimental, but the song, my best friend got married to it, and I love it. And I don't know, it was kind of an influence in that way.
I know when I was listening to like your past like catalog with your bands and then listening to the solo stuff, I really love like trying to like describe it, like almost like you're in like a tunnel and there's like an echo and it's like very like serene. Like I don't know, I love that kind of like tonality to it. I'm like, this is, it's so like calming. Like,
thank you.
like I don't know, just like on your just doing something very relaxing and like listening to that in the background. You're like, okay, this is like, but it sounds so cool that it like still captures your attention. So it's not just like background music, but it's like, how does she do that?
Thank you.
So you talk about feminism,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we are feminists too. So we always talk about, equal rights and living like in a patriarchal society and being under that microscope and like scrutinized in a way that's different than like, the white cisgender male that everyone is like, oh, that's it. That's what we aspire to be or whatever. Like my question is, how do you deal with that? Like having like a guard up in a way, and like, how do you alleviate like some of that scrutiny?
Well, I think having a robust, like, what did someone refer to this as? A robust catalog of wisdom role models, for lack of a better word. I can't think of a better word than role model, but people that you look to understand your situation and like from a socio-political or socio-cultural context, or from like even like a heart-centered context, and like leaning on their wisdom has been really helpful. So that's like, I don't know, that's like a really complicated way of saying I read a lot of books and learn from people who are well versed. I feel like there was a moment right before or like right around when I was starting Katie Ellen, I was like, I want to be a better feminist. And to me, that was like, I need to be constantly reading about, like what weight gender carries in our world. And so, there were like, I was really interested in, this isn't like a person, like, I guess this is sort of a personal answer, but this is sort of my like analytical answer. It's like, when I want to get better at something, or when I want to understand something in the world, I need to analyze it, and I need to like, put together a little library. So that was like me reading like stuff from like feminist Mystique to like anything I could read by Angela Davis, or like looking at feminism from a queer perspective, and what is feminism? What does it mean? Like, how has it been wielded as a tool for liberation? How has it also been wielded as a weapon? And I think, we can think about in the context of like intergenerational feminism. And I almost feel like, I'm like writing an essay in my head as I'm trying to answer this question. But like, those, like, it's always been important to me to have my own definition of that and have it evolve, of feminism, and have it evolve. And when it comes to like being able to sort of like arm myself with my tools, my part of those being like my analyzing tools, when I feel like I'm existing under oppression, it is very helpful, but it's also very hard. And I'll give you an example, since I'm writing my essay in my head. I wrote an article for Vox magazine. I think it was like 2014. It was a really long time ago, but it was called like 2014, the year women took over punk or something. And I'd never written a long form article like that before. I did like a bunch of research for it. Actually, the original thing that I wrote for it had to do a lot with the Spice Girls. And then I rewrote it and did something else. And I don't think it was the most well-researched article. You know, I think some of my point got across. I wish I could go back and rewrite it now, but I stand behind the things that I said. And when it got published, I had a Twitter account for like a couple of years, but mostly used it for work, never used it for music. And I was trolled so significantly by people who were just talking, just saying the most evil shit, like hateful, evil, misogynistic shit, that I deleted my Twitter account. And I was like, this is just one tiny facet of what people experience when they're trying to talk about the way that we experience gender in the world. And so, you know, I was armed with kind of like this like historical context, but I felt crushed internally, you know, and I think I had to build up some resilience there. And when I think about like what I want to learn from, you know, what I want to learn about feminism, I feel like I'm like constantly turning to like transgender women of color, because I just feel like, you know, they have had to have been on the front lines of like the front lines of the picket line, the front lines of like, they're like literally embodying like liberation kind of. And so I've kind of turned to like the wisdom of how they are existing in the world, and the resilience and strength and creativity that it takes to just live in the truth of being a transgender woman or person. So yeah, I don't really know if that really answered the question at all. But yeah, I feel like fortunately, I think as the community that I've been involved in has become, I honestly feel like maybe fortunately and unfortunately, as I have moved from this very specific world that Chumped operated in, outside of that to a different kind of community and some different, like a different genre world, I guess. Mm-hmm. I have felt much less scrutinized by my music community. When I was, you know, 6 years ago, I felt like I was very much under like a microscope, and there were a lot of comments about like, you know, well, I don't like girl bands, or you know, I don't listen to music, like I don't listen to girl music, or, you know, I hate her voice, it's so whiny, or, you know, are you with the band? And yeah, I felt much more I feel like sexualized in that role than I do now, which I think is in music anyway, you know. But yeah, not when I walk down the street, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, just, you know, give you creative freedom to answer however you please.
Yeah, sorry. And you can read my second book, How I Became a Feminist, out on Penguin Random House. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, you're always getting judged for everything that you do, and it's like, especially if you're in the public eye, like I don't know. I was gonna say I can't even imagine like just like you said, like people like sexualizing you or saying like I don't listen to like even like I don't listen to girl bands or I don't want to listen to it because there's a woman in this band, like just ridiculous things. Like I just you would think we like had evolved in a way that,
Yeah.
obviously not as much as we had hoped, but
Yeah.
you know but yes, I love the answer. It's definitely something to think about in our therapy session.
Yeah.
Working on that book.
Oh yeah. Yeah, baby.
Definitely. So I guess this is my last question for the day. What was the last show or movie you watched, the last book you read, and the last record you listened to?
The last show or movie I watched was High Fidelity. The last book I read was Our Prison's Obsolete by Angela Davis. And the last record I listened to was, I guess it's not technically a record, but everything that Megan Thee Stallion's entire catalog, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very eclectic. Love it.
Yeah.
Nice mix of everything. I was gonna say which High Fidelity.
The one with John Cusack.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the other High Fidelity?
There's a show with Zoe Kravitz.
Oh yeah, the show, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was just one season. It was really good. They canceled it, but
Oh wow. Well, now I'm gonna have to do a follow-up for the other High Fidelity.
It's cute. And I was like, I love this, like a woman of color, like main character owning a record shop.
Yeah.
Like this is.
Whoa. So wait, is it like a take on the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to watch that.
And
Cool.
it's like there's like a bunch of like punk posters like all over the record shop, and like it's just it's really, really cool. But
ooh, I love it.
They never didn't renew it. I was so mad.
Bummer.
But yes, and Megan Thee Stallion's whole.
Yes.
You just click on like what do you use like for when you listen to music? Do you use like Spotify or
yeah?
You just start at like the top and just like let it.
Yeah. It's not the best way to listen to an artist, to appreciate an artist's music, but it does the job when you're driving a car.
Convenient. Pay your artist more, Spotify.
Yeah, please. Jeez, I know I should go. Megan Thee Stallion doesn't need my money, but I did have a thought that after enjoying all this music, I should probably go buy a record, but I'll put that towards an indie artist that actually like needs the money. So
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now to chill for a little bit at least. So
yeah.
Are you a Cardi B fan too?
Oh yeah, baby.
I have her new song "Up" like stuck in my head. So
yeah, I haven't. My best friend just sent me the music video, but I haven't watched it yet.
Do that after this.
Yeah, now I have a task.
Be stuck in your head like all day. It's the usual.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Raven, did you have any last?
Do you want to plug like your social media and where people can find you and?
Oh yeah, the record, you can buy it on anikapyle.com, and Anika Sneeka on all the other things. Or I guess on Instagram and Twitter, that's SNEEKA. Yeah. And I don't know, I have a TikTok, but I don't really use it, but it's Anika Pyle. You know, if you're into that kind of thing.
Well, yes, again, we really appreciated you having, you being here with us and talking. And
yeah.
Thank you. It's really nice to meet you both.